Good morning. We're going to look at solving word problems using quadratic equations. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up the equation, and then you can use any method that we've learned thus far to solve the equation. You can solve by graphing, you can solve by quadratic formula, or you can solve by factoring, whichever you prefer. Okay? So we're going to start by writing the equation. These first two are a little bit more difficult, but we can do it. So we want to find two numbers such that their sum is 21 and their product is 104. So the two numbers would be x and y. Okay? So what does sum mean? Remember, sum means addition, and product means multiplication. So two numbers whose sum is 21 would be x plus y equals 21. Their product, which means multiplication, means x times y equals 104. Now we're also going to have to use a little bit of solving a system. So I'm going to say y is equal to negative x plus 21. And then I'm going to take that y and substitute it into this y. So I have x times negative x plus 21 equals 104. Simplifying that, I get negative x squared plus, I'm distributing, and that's equal to 104. I don't like negatives at the beginning of a quadratic, so I'm going to divide by negative 1. And I have to divide everything by negative 1, which makes that negative 104. And then remember, in order to solve a quadratic, it has to be equal to 0. So then I'm going to pull that 104 and set it equal to 0. So how can I solve this? Okay, I could graph it. If you prefer graphing it, go for it. If you want to use the quadratic formula, I'm going to factor. And I have to admit, I cheated on this a little bit. I graphed it first to find the solution. What two numbers can I multiply to get 104? Well, I found those numbers to be 13 and 12. And because it's negative and positive, they both need to be negative. To get the positive on the end, because a negative times a negative gives me a positive, but when I add them, I get a negative 21. So then I get x is equal to 13 and x is equal to 12 are my two choices. So the numbers could be x and 12 and 13 would be the two numbers that would be possible. Okay? All right. The length of a rectangle is 1 less than 2 times the width. So we have to write that equation. The length is 1 less than 2 times the width. So remember, anytime it says 1 less, we have to switch the order. So that would be 2w minus 1. Now the area of a rectangle is length times width. So once again, we're going to use a little bit of substitution here. We're going to substitute 2w minus 1 for L, and we get A is equal to 2w minus 1 times w. And that, the area is 45. So then that'll give me 2w squared minus w equals 45, which would be 2w squared minus w minus 45 equals 0. Now, I have to admit on this one, I think I am going to graph this one. So you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm in my handy-dandy calculator, and I'm just going to put in the equation 2x squared minus w minus 45, and then graph it and see where it crosses the x-axis. Now, it crosses the x-axis at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, I think that's negative 4.5. But because we're talking about a length and a width, I can't have a negative number, okay? Because length and width have to be positive. So that means w, because that's what I was solving for, w is 5, and the length is 2 times 5 minus 1, which would make it 9. Okay? Which makes sense because 5 times 9 is 45. All right, let's do another one. Now they get a little bit easier. The sum of a number and its square. So you have a number and its square is 72. So let's put this in standard form. We have to do x squared plus x. The 72 has to be moved to the left side, so we have minus 72 equals 0. So let's factor that. What can I multiply to get 72 and add to get positive 1? And that is 8 and 9. So x plus 9, x minus 8, because I need it to be positive in the middle. So that'll give me the solution, x is equal to negative 9, or x is equal to negative 8. Okay, so the sum of a number and a square could either be negative 9, I'm sorry, I don't know why I said, or positive 8. It should be positive. Okay, find a number that is 56 less than its square. So the number is 56. Remember, less than, we have to switch it around. 56 less than its square, which would, putting this in standard form, would make x squared minus x minus 56 equal to 0. And again, this time I'm going to graph it. You can either graph or you can factor. So if I graph this again, you can't see what I'm doing. It's x squared minus x minus 56. And if I graph that, I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 7, negative 7. Okay, so 8 and negative 7 are the two numbers that would work. Okay, let's do 2 more. When a certain number is added to its square, the result is 30. So we have a certain number, we're going to add it to its square, and then the result is 30. So again, putting this in standard form, and this one's pretty easy to factor. I can use 6 and 5. 6 is positive and 5 is negative, so x is negative 6, or x is 5. The difference of two numbers is 2, and their product is 224. So that's similar to the one that we began with. So we have x minus y is 2. Their product, meaning multiplication, is 224. So then we solve for x or y. This time I'm going to solve for x. So I have x is equal to 2 plus y. I just did that so I wouldn't have to deal with the negative. So then I have 2 plus y times y equals 224. So I get y squared plus 2y minus, because I moved the 224 over to the other side, equals 0. And for this one, I'm definitely going to graph this one on the calculator. So I have y squared plus 2y, and of course you can use x's on your calculator, minus 224. And if I graph that, let's see if it comes up between anything that we can see. It does not. I have to enlarge my window. Okay, and one of the answers I get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So 14 is one of the numbers. I'm solving for y. So y is 14, which makes the other answer 16. Okay, so I'm assuming 14 times 16 is 224. Okay, that's how you would do those. I want you to finish the problems 7 through 12, and then you do the try at the bottom as well.